Today we're going to put a new screen onto a Samsung Galaxy S3. They're particularly vulnerable to breaking screens. This one has got a broken screen down here. It's all cracked down here in the corner, and I often get asked, and I have done it in the past, where people ask me to put, rather than putting a completely new screen on it, they ask me to put just the replacement glass onto the S3. Now it is possible, but the problem I found with that is that certainly with the white ones and also with the blue ones, you can damage the frame on the outside here particularly easily. But even more serious than that, you can damage the LCD underneath, and the LCD is obviously a particularly expensive part of this smartphone, and you can get obviously replacement, just a plastic bit on the acrylic bit on the front here for about £15–20 off eBay, and that's fine. But they just, and I have put the screens on, but you run the risk of doing something particularly bad, and I'll show you one where it went horribly wrong. And this is a Samsung Galaxy S3, and you can see down here that actually the glass, the acrylic, didn't come off particularly well because it's all particularly glued around here, and also you can see a scorch mark just here where applying too much heat you can burn the LCD. So in the end you end up buying a new screen anyway. So in my view, it is perfectly possible to get the acrylic off, but rather than having a shattered device like this and having end up buying a new screen anyway, just put a new complete frame onto it, a new unit like this one. It's much more cost effective in the long run, quicker to do, and easier than just faffing around trying to put just the acrylic on. And it does save you money, but you do run the risk of burning the LCD, as I've said. Okay, so the first stage really is obviously this one's turned on. So what you do need to do is turn your Galaxy S3 off. Switch the power button, press the power button, and make sure it powers off before you start doing anything on the smartphone. The next stage is to remove the cover off the back. So you just literally put your finger in the top there and remove the glass, the plastic rather, off the back of the smartphone. And then remove the battery and put that to one side. You also need to check that you take out the mini SD card, micro SD, and the SIM card. This one happens to have them out already. And then we'll just go on to removing the screws off the back. Right, to get the case off, we need to remove these 10 screws off the back. I placed them down on a magnetic mat here, and these are particularly good. You can get these from iFixit or off eBay. They just keep all your screws together. So I'll just unscrew all these and put them in one place. Of course, once we've done the screws, taken the screws out, we need to take this back casing off. So that's quite simple. Literally just come off with your fingers. You pick it up and it is a couple of clips, and just gently move it so it flips off towards the bottom, and then you just pull that away, and there you have it all come apart nicely. Put that up to one side. The next stage is to remove this component here. So you simply just pick it up, and you'll see there's a little ribbon connector here. So you just get a spudger or plastic or instrument and flick it up, and then we'll remove this gently. So that's removed. Put that to one side into a nice safe place, and we'll go on to the next stage of putting a new screen with frame on to the S3. The following stage is to start removing the motherboard from the main frame. So there's a number of clips. So we are going to undo this ribbon here, this ribbon connector here, which is for the secondary camera, and also for the main screen down here, and then we'll go on and just undo the antenna connection here. So and finally there's a screw down here which needs to be removed as well to get the motherboard off. So just start up here, unclip this little ribbon connector here, push that back gently. Also unclip the secondary camera using a spudger or something gentle like that. We'll undo the connector for the screen, and then gently undo the connector for the antenna here. Now this is again, these parts are on iPhones and these smartphones are quite gentle, so quite delicate rather, so you need to be quite gentle with them. So just flick it off gently with a spudger or some other plastic device like that, and push that to one side, and remove that cable. So we're going to take off the whole component in a second, but just remove that cable so it's out of the way. So just slide it down the channel, and in a second we'll just remove this whole component here by putting a little screwdriver or slimmer edge under there to remove that component. But those are the main things. You're just unclipping these ribbon cables, and we'll undo this screw here, the black screw. Put that to one side. Now using a small screwdriver, we'll just place that underneath the component here, and slide that off so that we can get underneath the double-sided sticky tape. And there are two little dots here, so that's their little studs. So when we place it back on, that'll help us place it back on in the correct place. Right, I'm going to change over and use my Isesmo tool. It's got a slightly slimmer edge, and we just push that underneath there and lift it up gently and put that to one side. So that's the everything holding the motherboard back off in one place. So we'll just literally pick up the motherboard, make sure it's not caught anything, pick it up and place it to one side somewhere safe. Now we've got the motherboard off, we're going to take off some other components to get it ready for putting the new screen on. We're going to take off the vibrator module. Now this is this particular component is stuck on, so you have to insert your device here, or pointed tool in here, and lift it up gently, and then we're going to go move along here and put the device, the tool underneath here to lift this up. Now sometimes this can be a little tricky to get under here, so you got to be careful. You don't want to break this particular cable, so you have to obviously buy a new component, which is a pain in the neck. So just be aware that a spiky tool like this, or a very slim screwdriver, a very small screwdriver, can be quite helpful. But so just put your device underneath there, move that up, and lever it up, and then put your pointed device or screwdriver underneath the cable there, to lift it up. And you'll see there's two little dots here, little plugs, which help you guide you when you put it back in, so you can't put it in the wrong place. So lift it up and move that to one side. One thing to check is check your old screen, which this one is the old screen here, with your new one, to make sure you've got the same components on them. So you'll see here, here's the new one on the left. On the right, you've got a little white component here, which is a gasket. So just check you've still got these, because sometimes you have to take bits from the old screen to the new one. So the secondary earpiece, secondary camera rather, needs to come out. That's this component here. So we're going to undo that screw there, and put it to one side, and then gently lift this camera up and put it to one side before moving on to the components over here. So just get a Phillips screwdriver and undo that screw there. Put it on the magic magnetic project board so it doesn't fly off anywhere. That's a real pain when you lose little screws on the floor. And then what we're going to do now is just lift off the secondary camera, and it brings off the whole unit in one piece. So just lift it up gently. You don't want to rip any cables. Put that to one side. There's the camera and the unit. Oops. So just put it one side out of the way. The next stage is to take off these volume buttons and power buttons off the side and release the ribbons off here, so we don't damage these when we're putting the new screen on. And you may not have these in your new screen anyway, so you need to swap them over. So there's some ribbons down here and the buttons. So using your spiky tool, just push it out to the back here, and release the button. So you can see gently you'll be able to release that out of the way. So these only have one way to properly to go back in. You'll see if you made a mistake, because this is the button's got a sort of slope on it. Can't really see that on there, but it's got a very small slope on it, so that when you put it back in, you'll know pretty immediately whether you've got it back in the right way or not. So we'll do the same for the other side. For the power button, just using a spiky tool, just push that out gently, and make sure you put it carefully to one side so you don't lose it, because obviously you need to put that back in later on. Now this is where the spiky tool helps, because it's got little clips on it, so you push it to one side and out. There we go. Place that to one side. There's lots of fiddly bits, so you can easily get lost. Right, so that's done. So we're going to move on to taking the ribbon out from here, from the volume buttons and the earpiece. You'll probably see here there's some little ribbon here, and it's stuck to the inside of the frame with double-sided tape. These iSesamo tools are absolutely brilliant. It's because they've got a very thin end here, and they're worth all the money, worth their money. So they're about £6 or £7. So you stick it under there, gently release the volume button from the stickiness. Try and keep it intact, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it later on. Just keep it there. Remove those buttons from the frame. Just gently move them off. Okay, right, so that's coming off. You see that's loosening up. You can see that's loosening up there. So what I need to do now is you see that's gently lifting up there. So we need to get a screwdriver or flat edge. Again, the Isosmo's tool's a bit big for this, and just press it underneath there. Now be very careful because these ribbons are always very delicate. So move it underneath so you can remove it, and that's the earpiece, the speaker coming off, and then gently move it along so you can remove that whole ribbon. And we're going to replace that, so it comes off quite easily. The trickiest bit is just removing the volume button from the side of the frame here, but just be very gentle with it always, and like all things, patience and gentleness with dealing with smartphones is a must. Now I've got the components we want off the back of the screen with the ribbon here. We're going to get rid of the old screen and start putting the components we removed onto the new screen. You'll see here there's a sort of silver taping here. Now the new screen should have a plastic covering over this piece of material here, and you'll notice also these little guiding notches here which are sticking up, so you can put your ribbons back in exactly the right place. So those are key sort of aspects to make sure you're lining everything back up in the correct place. So right, that's the old screen away. Here's the new one. I mentioned this tape here. Now this blue tape here is covering up the material which is underneath here, which is the sort of liner. So we're going to remove this little blue tape here, and sometimes it sticks to the back of the blue material. So just carefully remove it, keeping it held down, and gently remove it like that, so you can reveal that tape underneath, so you can put the ribbon back in the correct place. Right, next is the volume control, volume buttons. So again, we're going to put these back in the right place. You'll be able to guide it all back in correctly using the notches, but the first thing is put the ribbons back in the volume buttons rather than the back, the right place. So sorry, get it on camera there. Get it lined up there so you can you'll know whether you've got it in the right place, because the notch will line up at the top end here. So just line those up with the volume buttons, the volume holes. Press that in place. Again, if you need to, just get your little sharp tool here, gently press it back so it's in line, and you'll see when you put the screen back up, the volume hole button back up in the right place, you'll see whether those are in the right place or not, because they're lining up inside there. So that ribbon just flows up in the right direction, and you want to make sure you just adjust it slightly so that this hole in the ribbon goes over the notch. So just move it around so you're getting it all in the right place, and it's in the right area. Press it down and move along, and make sure, actually that's slightly out of line. There we go. Press the cable down, ribbon down, put the secondary speaker, the earpiece back in place. And then move along so you can place down the ribbon in the right place over here. That should just slot over the top there. And there we have the cable back in place, the ribbon back in place for the volume buttons, and the earpiece up here. Right, that's that piece done. Next is the vibrator. So this goes back into this part of the motherboard, or the frame rather. So it's got sticky sided tape on it, double sided tape on it already. You'll see there's two little notches there, so make sure you place the ribbon directly over those so you know you've got it in the right place. gently press it home so you make sure it sticks down, and it's all on the right track, and then press down the vibrating module so it's all in the right location. So that's pretty straightforward. Move on to the next stage. Now we've got the volume buttons, sort of volume button ribbon in place. We need to make sure we put the volume control buttons, the external buttons, back inside, and the power button. I mentioned earlier, you put this back in one way, you'll see it slopes at an angle. So make sure that it slopes back towards the in line with the frame itself. So you'll see that that will go in one way. The new screen has some protective film on the outside, so make sure that's out of the way. So just put that button back in place, and make sure that clicks home, and you can see that it is actually reaching through and touching those volume buttons, which we need just to replace it. Get the power button as well. Quite small fiddly parts. Again, make sure it goes back in the right way. You'll know whether it's in the right way around or not by just by the slope on it. So quite easy to get in and out, but it's just a bit of a pain, a bit of a waste of time if you have to faff around getting them in and out. So just line that up. And press it home. Okay, so that's back in its slot. Make sure it's, there we go, not too sticking too far in. Right, we'll move on to the next stage. Right, it's important to make sure you put the components back in the right order. So once we've done the ribbons on the volume buttons, put the secondary camera back in place. So you just literally put that back into its slot up here. You'll see, remember we took a screw out earlier on, put the camera back in place. There's a wide screw, wide-headed screw, which goes back into that point there. So I'm just going to pick that up with my tweezers, put it back onto the slot, the screw hole, and screw it in, and that goes nicely and easy into place. Right, so we're going to put the motherboard back on next. So just spin that around, lift those up out of the way slightly, those cables. Get the motherboard, and it's quite easy to put back in place because there's some little guiding slots in the corners here. So it's really handy for making sure you've got it lined up in the right place. So gently put that down into place, make sure it doesn't cover up any ribbon cables, and place that down like so. And once that's in place, you'll see if you've got it in the right location by these guiding holes here. And then we're going to get the little black screw, which goes in the screws the motherboard down to the frame. I mentioned I use tweezers. I like using tweezers because I got particularly prone to dropping screws on the floor, and it's easy to hold it with the left hand in a pair of tweezers and then screw it back down because these are quite fiddly, these screws. So just screw that black screw in place, and then we'll connect up these cables back onto the motherboard, which is quite straightforward. So we'll just start with a secondary camera. Put that in place. Gently press these down. Sometimes these can be a bit delicate, so you have to be quite careful. Make sure you line it up accurately, and then line up the screen cable with the motherboard connector. Press that down nice and firm. You'll hear it click into place, and there you have the motherboard back on. And we'll go on to the next stage now, which is putting the wireless cable on. Right, we need to put the the antenna back on the cable which you took off earlier on. This goes down, clips on here, and goes down a channel, and the ribbon attaches down at the bottom here. So there's two notches down here, so you make sure you can line it up correctly. So just place this back in here. There's two notches line up with the holes on it, so it's quite straightforward. Run the cable down the side in the channel, which you'll see is quite obvious. Make sure you get it there in there correctly. Don't make sure it doesn't pinch or anything like that. And line it up with a notch at the top here. This can be quite delicate, these components. Even on iPhones, these are the same. Sometimes you get a cable here and it's easy to damage it, so just do it nice and gently, put it back onto its slot. So that's in place. Now I'm just going to make sure that cable runs back in the right place, because sometimes it flicks out while you're doing that, so which this has done. So run it down there, making sure you don't pinch it or bend it awkwardly. Run it down with your fingernail if necessary to make sure it holds down into the channel. Okay, just make sure that's tucked under there, so you can see it's tucked under there into the channel and under the bit of the motherboard there, so it's not protruding and going to get caught with anything. We're getting towards the end now, so that's good. So we're just going to put the loudspeaker unit back on the top here. So that's quite straightforward. Just place it over there. You'll see where the guiding holes are for the screws. Just place it down there. You'll hear it snap into place, and then you can see there's a little cable here which attaches to the motherboard. So press that home nice and gently into place, and then we'll just put the rear casing back on. The remainder of that. Which is again quite straightforward. You've got the 10 screws, and we're just going to put that back on and screw those down into place. So get those pressed home. You'll see it here, it snap into place, so you know it's in the right sort of right zone. And then I'll just add in these the final 10 screws before we put the battery on and start it up. Right, time for putting the battery on. Just slots back in pretty easily. Then put the rear casing on and snap that into place, and we'll turn on the power button on the device and see it start up. This has still got the plastic film on the outside, protective film, and on the outside of the frame. I always tend to keep this on to the last minute, because you know, you put it on the desk and it can get scratched easy. So I'll just press the power button and see, there you go, nice Samsung Galaxy S3 with a replacement screen on it. It's a relatively quick job, and it's I say, much easier in the long run, in my view, to put a brand new screen on it. And prices are slowly coming down, but it's much better and more effective than trying to get the acrylic off. And so there you go, Samsung Galaxy S3 screen replacement done by Smartphone Fixer. Thanks for watching.